Time for overtime.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
In the world of sports, it's all about the playmakers in today's headlines, from locals to the pros, with interviews from local standouts and sports all-stars across the country that will have you talking.
Head of the pack, all the way in, slam, dunk, wow!
Hear from coaches to players, sports analysts, and broadcasters who are a part of the action every day. Overtime, now with Bert Ramin on ESPN 102.3 AM 1000 KSOO, Sioux Falls sports leader.
Little bit of a late start to hour number 2, but for good reason always. A ton of info, ton of good news for the Minnesota Vikings and their fans. Dustin Baker just departing the studio moments ago, an entire hour each and every Thursday. Wall-to-wall Vikings coverage. Minnesota has added 14 free agents thus far in this NFL free agent cycle. I believe, I'm not sure, I haven't looked it up yet, I think that's the most in the National Football League. At least it feels like the most active team in terms of quantity of free agents brought in. Score update really quick. Michigan State over Mississippi State at the half. 31-24 the score there. Things have cooled off a bit. It took BYU more than 5 minutes to score. Cougars are climbing back into it against Duquesne. 10 minutes to go first half. Duquesne 17 and BYU 10. Those are the score updates. And for you area basketball fans, those of you making the trip down to Omaha, those of you looking forward to rooting for the teams from Omaha, Creighton and Akron, 12:30 Central Time. TNT is the start time there. Creighton, a deep pick for me. I've got him in my championship game. By the way, if you want to see my Final Four, that's posted up on Twitter, ESPNSiouxFalls.com. Feel free to share yours. I will give you a tip of the cap if you get 3 or 4 of those teams called correctly. It's different strokes for different folks this time of year. I've seen everything across the board with our contests here and elsewhere as far as teams in the Final Four. Best of luck. Let's have some fun. March Madness, the best time of the sports calendar. Still to come in the show, latest from the NFL. Sioux Falls Storm head coach Andre Fields will join us around 12:30, and we finish up the show with the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to fly through your scorecard here because we've got a lot of news to get to, and a lot of it is that aforementioned ugly news. First things first, scorecard look. NHL Finals, Toronto over Washington 7-3. Dallas over Arizona 5-2. And the Kings pour it on to the tune of a 6-0 win against the Wild last night at home.
For Arvidsson at the goal line. To Doughty, left circle. Down low, Kopitar scores! Just as the penalty expired.
Kings win at 6-0 over the Wild. 12 games remain for the Minnesota Wild this year. They're 34-28-8. And for those of you keeping score at home, they've got some work to do to find their way into the postseason. Western Conference right now, top 3 seeds in the Central, Winnipeg, Colorado, and Avalanche. Those top 3 seeds pretty much locked up, although the order might change. 4 seed right now is Nashville. They've got 84 points. Minnesota has 76 points right now. They've also played one additional game over the Predators. The likely spot in for Minnesota, if they find their way into the postseason, will be if Vegas falls out. Vegas has played 2 less games, so keep that in mind. 2 less games than Minnesota. They've got 79 points, so Minnesota de facto is 3 points back of Vegas right now and need Vegas to really struggle down the stretch. Just 12 games remain. Minnesota's got to make up 3 points in the standings, and Vegas also 2 additional games to slam the door. Tonight in the NHL, Kraken at Golden Knights, 9:30 on ESPN, a highlight on the schedule. And yesterday in the NBA, it was Miami over Cleveland, 107-104, the final. Big win for the Heat.
Rozier with the rock. Up top. He clearing out room for him to work. Sidestep for 3. Cash money.
Miami gets the win, 107-104. Jimmy Butler, 30 points and 38-31, the new record for Miami on the season. Elsewhere, Battle of Titans, Clash of Titans between Milwaukee and Boston yesterday, and the Celtics come out on top. Final score, 122-119.
Tatum, no look for Derek White, left side 3, got it. Celtics have only made 3 shots in the fourth quarter, but they've all been threes.
Celtics cool off a bit, but still get the win, 122-119. Their record, an NBA best, 55-14 on the season. A lot of rooting against OKC these days for good reason. If you're a Timberwolves fan, you need them to trip and fall and stumble, stub their toe, whatever you need. They got to start losing, but they didn't do that last night. 119-107 winners against Utah.
Ball knocked away by Sexton. He gets it back, dishing to Wallace. In the lane, Holmgren leans in and floats a 5-footer that he nails. He has 35 now, a bucket away from a new career high.
OKC 12-point win. They're 48-20 on the season. Other finals, Golden State over Memphis, Phoenix over Philly, and the Clippers win in Portland, 116-103. Tonight in the NBA, Pelicans at Magic get us going at 6 o'clock. Other highlights on the schedule, Bulls at Rockets at 7, Nets at Bucks at 7 as well. Nuggets are home to the Knicks. That is an 8 o'clock jump time. Men's basketball, Colorado and Boise State tussled last night in a battle of 10 seeds. The Buffs come out on top 60-53. They move on to face 7-seed Florida tomorrow in the NCAA bracket. Elsewhere, Grambling over Montana State in overtime, 88-81. Grambling on to face top-seeded Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers. NCAA Tournament Field of 64 is underway. Some highlights from a local angle. Akron and Creighton getting going at 11:40. So that's going to get underway, 12:30, the start time there. Moorhead in Illinois, 2:10 on True TV as well. Colorado State and Texas, 5:50. SDSU and Iowa State tonight, 6:35 on True TV. Other games considering local teams, Kansas and Samford, 8:55 on TBS. And Drake and Washington State, 9:05 jump time on True TV. Women's basketball, Vanderbilt over Columbia in a battle of 12 seeds. Commodores move on with a 72-68 win to face 5th-seeded Baylor. And it was Presbyterian over Sacred Heart. Presbyterian on to face top-seeded in the entire tournament, South Carolina. Tonight in women's basketball, Arizona and Auburn, battle of 11 seeds, 6 o'clock on ESPN2. Winner faces 6-seed Syracuse, and UT Martin and Holy Cross, 8 o'clock on ESPN2. The winner there moves on to face Caitlin Clark and the top-seeded Iowa Hawkeyes. Again, local teams coming up. USD is home for the first round of the WNIT women's basketball. Friday at 7, they play host to UC Riverside. South Dakota State battles Utah late on Saturday night, 9 o'clock on ESPNU. NFL news to get to. Chris Canty been critical of the Chicago Bears this offseason. He says if they bungle the top pick or if it plain and simply doesn't work out, he could see both the GM and the head coach being fired.
The thing that concerns me the most about what Caleb is walking into is that you have a coach and essentially a general manager that are both on the hot seat. Like, if this thing doesn't go right this year, I could see a world where the general manager, Ryan Poles, and the head coach in Matt Eberflus are going into 2025. And that's what concerns me. When you have a rookie quarterback with a head coach and or general manager on the hot seat, it's not a good thing. It doesn't lend itself to the kind of stability that you need to develop a quarterback properly.
2024 NFL Draft, where Caleb Williams is the presumptive top overall pick, April 25th through the 27th from Detroit. Now on to Major League Baseball. We'll dive into the complete article here in just a moment, but Shohei Ohtani's interpreter reportedly a tremendous amount of gambling debt, not on baseball according to the report, but other sports. Shohei Ohtani paying off the debt. Here's what the latest was from investigative reporter Tisha Thompson on the conversation with Shohei Ohtani's interpreter.
This is what Mitsuhara said to me on Tuesday night before the game, that he had told Ohtani that Ohtani had offered to pay his debts and that Mitsuhara showed or explained to Ohtani how to wire the money. And it was Ohtani who had logged into his computer and had sent the wire transfers at Mitsuhara's direction based on instructions Mitsuhara had been given to pay back the debt.
That audio courtesy of Tisha Thompson. Now Michelle Smallman had this to say this morning on Unsportsmanlike that it's a plain and simple nightmare for Major League Baseball and its commissioner.
This is his actual nightmare. You have all of this goodwill that you've garnered if you're Rob Manfred for the changes that you've made in the game. And then after all of this activity with the Dodgers where they acquire all these stars, they're going to be the talk of the sport. Your sport is going to get national recognition because of this team, and namely because of this player, national and international recognition. And then he's involved in a scandal, and not only a scandal, a gambling scandal.
Yeah.
This is literally, Rob, Rob Manfred's worst nightmare.
Absolutely true. We'll dive into more of the details in that investigation that is likely to get underway into Shohei Ohtani's interpreter's gambling activity. It's a stain for Major League Baseball on the brightest star in baseball and the favorite for the World Series in the LA Dodgers, and it's not the only bad thing that happened to that franchise yesterday. Let's dive into your Reliabank headlines of the day. Augustana has announced as of yesterday that Jillian Flores-Bennett, the first-year head coach who just finished up her first year guiding the women's basketball program, will not return as the head coach of the women's program, and Augustana will begin an immediate search for her replacement. The further statement on GoAugie.com says, in order to protect university employees, Augustana is committed to upholding the confidential management of personnel matters. Therefore, we cannot comment nor disclose any further information related to such matters. Augie is steadfast in its commitment to excellent learning experiences and outcomes for its students and student athletes. Again, details very limited, but Jillian Flores-Bennett done after just 1 year guiding the Augustana women's basketball program. Fifth-year forward Chase Brand is signed on the dotted line with the Reading Royals of the ECHL, announced by the team on Wednesday afternoon. The Augustana Viking and native of Park Rapids, Minnesota, played in 30 games this year and tallied 5 goals and 7 assists for 12 total points. Brand had a multi-goal effort in Augustana's win over then number 16 Arizona State and the Vikings' first ever ranked win in program history. The Reading Royals inking a deal with fifth-year forward Chase Brand. I believe that's number 3. As far as the players departing the program or players leaving the program for a pro opportunity for Augustana Viking hockey, Reading Royals are the ECHL affiliate of the National Hockey League's Philadelphia Flyers and the American Hockey League's Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Royals play in the Eastern Conference of their league. We told you there's a lot of bad and weird news today in the sports world. It's great. March Madness is underway. I wish we could talk exclusively about that, but the hits keep coming from the negative light. Here we go with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They fired an employee arrested and charged with a felony third-degree burglary for allegedly stealing thousands of internal files, including strategic NBA information. Those last 3 words are in a quote from a team executive, according to a criminal complaint filed on Wednesday and obtained by ESPN. Somak Sarkar, who is 33 years old, was previously served as a coaching analyst for the team, is in custody and faces a court hearing on Thursday afternoon in Minnesota. An attorney wasn't listed for him as of yesterday afternoon. Timberwolves told ESPN that they were aware of the allegations and had no further comment at this time. A source told ESPN that the team would not pursue criminal charges. Again, Timberwolves employee fired, arrested, and charged felony third-degree burglary for allegedly stealing thousands of files, including strategic NBA information. More on that at ESPN.com. Not bad news here to share. South Dakota football has made another coaching hire. Head coach Bob Nielsen excited to announce that Nathan Nelson has joined the Coyote football staff as the new defensive line coach for the team. Nelson comes to Vermilion from Arkansas at Monticello, where he spent last season as the defensive line coach. Prior to that, he was a defensive graduate assistant at his alma mater, University of Iowa, and was a defensive ends and linebackers coach at Bemidji State during the 2022 season. Nelson's brother Anthony currently plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and his father Jeff played defensive line for the Iowa Hawkeyes in the 80s and 90s. Again, Bob Nielsen making the announcement that Nathan Nelson has joined the Coyote football staff as the new defensive line coach down in Vermilion. South Dakota State Jackrabbit men's basketball make their 7th appearance in the NCAA D1 men's basketball on Thursday. That's tonight, 6:35 p.m. from Omaha as they match up with second-seeded Iowa State. SDSU is making its second showing in the NCAA tournament under the guidance of fifth-year head coach Eric Henderson, each of which has come in the previous 3 years. 2 years ago, SDSU was a 13 seed when they nearly took care of Providence in the opening round. The 4 seed, the Friars, ultimately prevailed in the contest. Close game, 66-59 57 was the final. SDSU went into that March Madness with an appearance and a record of 30-4 and had a 21-game win streak. The Jackrabbits currently have an 8-game win streak, the program's longest since that 2022 season, and they're 22-12 overall. Jackrabbits matching up with Iowa State, one of the more underrated teams throughout the season, one of the top defensive teams in the country, guided by a very familiar face in head coach TJ Otzelberger. Iowa State 27-7 on the season. They just won the Big 12 tournament, and they are a 2 seed in their respective region of the NCAA tournament. Big news yesterday for South Dakota as an institution, South Dakota as a university, and as an athletic department. The University of South Dakota Athletic Department has announced that the launch of the Pride of the Western Plain, powered by Student Athlete NIL, the official NIL collective for Coyote student athletes to leverage their name, image, and likeness opportunities. SANIL is not affiliated with USD Athletics, but is acknowledged by the athletic department and will operate within NCAA, Summit League, and state of South Dakota parameters to market and manage NIL opportunities for college student athletes for USD. It is with great enthusiasm that we announce this partnership with SANIL and launch our Pride of the Western Plain Collective, according to USD Athletic Director John Schemmel. Since my arrival back to USD, there has not been a day where I wasn't asked about when we could do something meaningful in the collective and NIL space. Your investment in the collective will enhance the holistic experience for our student athletes while allowing them the opportunity to build their brands and further engage with partners and community members. You can read more about that at goyotes.com. It's an exciting time, evening up the playing field, because pretty much every single program out there, whether it's D1, D2, they're getting into this collective work. They're getting into an opportunity to boost the visibility and the opportunity for their student athletes. More into your Reliabank headlines of the day. One day after Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lohr's bid to acquire majority control of the Timberwolves and the Lynx lost the $300 million investment of private equity firm, the pair found a new financial backer and filed paperwork with the NBA to complete the deal. Sources told ESPN on Wednesday Rodriguez and Lohr's original backer, the Carlyle Group, did not come to an agreement regarding requirements for those investing in the NBA, so the leagues agreed to part ways. But now they've got a new backer and potentially could be the new majority ownership of the Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx. Now for the bad news for the Dodgers as we round out your Reliabank headlines of the day here for hour number 2. The first bad news happened on the baseball field. Yoshinobu Yamamoto lasted just one inning in his Dodgers debut after signing a record $325 million 12-year contract. He gave up 5 runs in a 15-11 loss to the Padres in Seoul, South Korea. Yesterday, early this morning, 25-year-old right-hander trailed 2-0 after 9 pitches and needed 43 pitches to get 3 outs, leaving with a 45.00 ERA. San Diego batted around, and Michael Grove relieved Yamamoto with the Dodgers trailing 5-1 after just 1 inning. Now the other bad news for the Dodgers is off the field, and this will continue to evolve. I don't envision this story going away anytime soon, and I don't envision speculation about the story, the details, the personalities involved to go away anytime soon either. The LA Dodgers and the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani, the Dodgers fired him on Wednesday afternoon after questions surrounding at least $4.5 million in wire transfers were sent from Ohtani's bank account to a bookmaking operation set off a series of events. Ippei Mizuhara, the longtime friend and interpreter of Ohtani, incurred the gambling debts to a Southern California bookmaking operation that is currently under federal investigation, multiple sources told ESPN. How he came to lose his job started with reporters asking questions about the wire transfers. Initially, a spokesman for Ohtani told ESPN that the slugger had transferred the funds to cover Mizuhara's gambling debt. The spokesperson presented Mizuhara to ESPN for a 90-minute interview Tuesday night, during which the interpreter laid out his account in great detail. However, as ESPN prepared to publish the story on Wednesday, the spokesman disavowed Mizuhara's account and said that Ohtani's lawyers would issue a statement instead. In the course of responding to media inquiries, we discovered that Shohei has been the victim of a massive theft, and we're turning over the matter to authorities. The spokesman declined to answer any further questions, and the statement did not specify whom they believe perpetrated the alleged theft of Ohtani. When asked by ESPN on Wednesday afternoon after the Burke Bretler statement, which is the attorney, if it had been accused of theft, Mizuhara said he was told he could not comment but declined to say by whom. Again, this is an interesting situation. It's a weird situation. It's a stain on baseball right now, but there's going to be a lot more details emerging in the coming hours and coming days on this. But again, Mitsuhara apparently a gambling issue, saying he's never going to gamble again. And the big news note here, as far as what he gambled on, if that really matters as far as suspension, it matters as far as suspicion goes. The one good news item so far is that according to that article available at ESPN.com, there was no gambling on the sport of Major League Baseball, but certainly the imaginations run wild about Shohei Ohtani, about his longtime friend and interpreter gambling debt. It was categorized as a theft, but maybe not. Maybe it was him covering his friend's gambling debt. No matter what it was, a lot of investigation more than likely in store here, speculation. Until then, we will wait and see what comes of that investigation. But Shohei Ohtani, the LA Dodgers, had a rough day yesterday, and that Ohtani situation, as well as his longtime friend and interpreter, definitely going to stick around until that case comes to a conclusion. Those are your Reliabank headlines of the day for hour number 2. As always, find them at Reliabank.com or in person here in the 605 for a better local banking option. When we come back, we'll dip our toe in quickly to the latest from the NFL. We'll be talking football some more with Sioux Falls Storm head football coach Andre Fields as well. Don't go anywhere. Overtime rolls along next right here on ESPN Sioux Falls.
Overtime is in the middle of your workday. Unwrap your sandwich and get caught up with Bert Rameen on ESPN 102.3 and AM 1000 KSOO, Sioux Falls sports leader.
Right back with you on this Thursday edition of Overtime. NCAA Tournament is off and running. Michigan State with an 8-point lead, 17 minutes to go over Mississippi State, 37-29. Elsewhere, my Duquesne Dukes, one of my upset picks in the first round, out to a 10-point advantage over BYU. Just 2 minutes to go in the first half there. Duquesne 33 and BYU 23. Quickly, the latest from the NFL before we take the break and come back and talk with Sioux Falls Storm first-year head coach Andre Fields. The latest signing in the NFL belongs to the Cleveland Browns. Free agent running back Deontay Foreman is signing with the Browns. Foreman will join a committee that includes Jerome Ford, SDSU alum Pierre Strong Jr., as well as star running back Nick Chubb, and he's not expected to be ready for the start of the season after a devastating injury to his left knee, multiple torn ligaments in week 2 of last year. Chubb had to have a reconstruction after tearing his MCL, PCL, and LCL, again moving forward. But again, Chubb underwent 2 surgeries, the first to repair the medial capsule, meniscus, and MCL in late September, and the second to repair the ACL in November. Certainly a lot of options in the backfield. Deontay Foreman joining the Cleveland Browns. Yesterday was the pro day for USC, and Caleb Williams wowed scouts that were there, representatives in attendance from all 32 NFL teams. Williams widely believed to be the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Williams said, "I wanted to come out here and put on a show. I think it went well." Teams on hand were able to see Williams, the 2022 Heisman Trophy winner, do something he hasn't done since the 2023 college football season ended, and that's throw a football. "I didn't feel like the need to go out and throw," Williams said at the Combine. "I played around 30-something games, I believe. Go ahead and go watch the real live ball of me and see how I am as a competitor." He did throw yesterday at the Pro Day. Caleb Williams putting on a show at USC's Pro Day as of yesterday. And now, lastly, the NFL's competition committee has proposed a revamped kickoff as of yesterday that resembles the alignment used in the XFL during its 2020 and 2023 seasons, one of a series of high-profile changes that owners will consider next week at their annual league meeting. The committee also offered a rule that would prohibit the hip drop tackling technique. The NFLPA issued a statement on Wednesday opposing that proposal. The players oppose any attempt by the NFL to implement a rule prohibiting a swivel hip drop tackle. The players' union said, while the NFLPA remains committed to improvements to our game with health and safety in mind, we can't support a rule change that causes confusion for us as players, coaches, or officials, and especially for fans, we call on the NFL again to reconsider implementation of the rule. I certainly understand from the health and safety perspective of banning a certain kind of play, but the hip drop tackle to me is going to be so much based on what the officials believe that they saw. And I think what we're going to get here is a big-time weird gray area, similar to what we have with roughing the passer, that every tackle that they throw a flag on, fans are going to clamor and say, is that really a hip drop tackle? Didn't look like it to me. They should implement a review for this. And then we're going to get into that even deeper and deeper and deeper. I think we should implore safety at all costs. I love the fact that they're looking into it for safety, but we need to take this a little bit more detailed approach moving forward. You can't just outright ban something and then make it a flag and an ejection, whatever it might be. I'm not a fan of going ahead and doing this now, but more research needed, more kind of implementation and characterization needed as to what a hip drop tackle is, because the players might not know exactly what is illegal. The fans definitely don't know what they're talking about based on not actually playing in the game. Needs a little bit more runway for me before they get that going. But the kickoff instance, as far as bringing that back into the game, less high-velocity collisions, I'm all for some changes on the NFL kickoff. That's the latest from the National Football League. When we come back, it's time to talk Sioux Falls Storm football with head coach Andre Fields. Stay tuned. We're back after this with Coach.
Sometimes humorous, but most of the time entertaining. This is Overtime with Bert Rameen on ESPN 102.3 and AM 1000 KSOO, Sioux Falls sports leader.
Right back with you on this Thursday edition of Overtime. Creighton Blue Jays are underway against Akron, where Creighton has an early 8-6 advantage. Other scores at the half: Duquesne over BYU 38-30. And 14 minutes to go. 9-point lead for Michigan State. First game of the day, 43-34 over Michigan State. Now, as we go to the ESPN hotline, the new head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm getting ready for kickoff of his first season in that position. Guiding the team is Andre Fields. Coach, welcome back to the show. It's Thursday. It's a start to the NCAA Tournament. Give me a Final Four pick. Give me a champion while you're at it.
Ooh, I really, I'm one of those guys that been so much going on with the first game, I haven't had a chance to look at it. I'm a huge Illinois fan, so I'm going to put them in my Final Four. I won't say champion, but I have them in the Final Four.
Okay, Illinois in the Final Four. You heard it here first. Sioux Falls Storm head coach Andre Fields, our guest. Let's talk about your offseason. You're getting ready to start the season tomorrow. You guys are going to battle Quad City tomorrow night at 7:05. How has the offseason been for you? I'm sure it's a tough and busy time of year, putting together the roster, putting together the staff, but how has everything been for you?
It was an eye-opening experience, obviously, and it was busy. It was definitely a new experience for me having to actually be in the recruiting league. But I think it went well. I think we put together a squad that we feel comfortable with, and of course the staff that we feel comfortable with. And I think we'll get off on the right foot.
And obviously there's a lot to look forward to. The season is going to be underway for the Sioux Falls Storm at Quad City tomorrow night at 7:05. For more information, a look at the roster, look at the schedule, and tickets, of course. SiouxFallsStorm.com, the place to go. We're joined by head coach Andre Fields. Coach, when it comes to the team this year, are there some returners? We guys had a lot of big signings this offseason. What are a few of the highlights on this year's team as far as the players go?
Yeah, we actually have a pretty young team, but we do have some returners. And ironically, it's returners who haven't necessarily been with us last year. So guys like Claude Davis, with the Storm for many years and then had a few years away. But he's back to help with that defensive line. We brought back Carlos Thompson, who was here 2 seasons ago. He's still a fan favorite, so he's back with us. And then we have a few returning veterans on the defensive side of the ball, around the Jason McCoy, corner, great work last 2 seasons. Isaiah Blackman, Jerry. So we got a few guys back offensively. David Jackson finished the season very well for us. Running back to 5 right position is also back. And then we added some key additions. Kentrell Bell, who was all the first team performer at wide receiver last year. He's joined us. And then the rest of it is really just a lot of a lot of rookies that hopefully get a part of the speed quickly and get that chemistry going and create some wins.
Sioux Falls Storm head coach Andre Fields is our guest. And, Coach, if possible, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. So if you were on iPod, AirPods, or on speakerphone, if you could just switch back, that would be great. Just having a little bit of trouble hearing you today on the show. It's blast to talk to you. Sioux Falls Storm head coach Andre Fields. Again, SiouxFallsStorm.com, the place to go. Coach, it's a blast to have you on the show. Let's talk a little bit about the coaching staff, because you guys got that hammered out. You open up the season tomorrow. Any new faces on the coaching staff? What are the official titles looking like this year for your staff?
Gotcha. Well,
that is so much better. So much better sounding.
Good. All right, good deal. Yeah, most of the coaching staff are returners, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. Was really didn't want to change much as far as the coaching staff and the support staff goes. As long as everybody was willing to come back, I wanted to kind of make that an easy transition. But we did add Terrence Bryant, former Sioux Falls Storm quarterback and Hall of Famer in the IFL. He's back to the coaching staff, helping us coach the quarterback. Peyton Riggs is back as offensive coordinator. He also took over some of the recruiting roles, so he's a recruiting coordinator for us. On the defensive side of the ball, we have Mark Blackburn is back with us. He coached linebackers for us last year. He's returned. And then Corey Johnson, who's been with us forever since his playing days are over. He's still coaching the D-line. Paul Kaiser is our offensive line coach. He's been with us for several years. And then the last few years, Christian Porter has also coached running backs for us, and he's back. So we got a lot of returners in the coaching staff back helping us. We got a new equipment manager, Kim Story. She's a female, of course, and she's been doing great. She stepped into that role well for us, and we needed that. And then our support staff and videographer manager, Lane Krapewski, is also back. So, it was big for me to keep that continuity in the coaching staff, knowing that we would have a young team, and then also just to help me in my transition into the head role to kind of just, keep some of the same things and some of the same roles flowing so that we wouldn't have so much newness, but we could really just focus on what we've always done and try to continue to keep the train rolling.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality for the Sioux Falls Storm. And again, Curtis Riggs stepping down. It's Andre Fields as the new head coach of the Storm this year. They open up the season tomorrow night, 7:05 out in Quad City. And by the way, we talked about the roster. It's a pretty cool local angle. Defensive lineman Logan Swanson from Augustana on the team this year for the Sioux Falls Storm. Very exciting stuff for the whole roster. SiouxFallsStorm.com. Let's talk about Quad City. What are some keys to getting off the season off the right foot coming up tomorrow night, 7:05 against Quad City?
Well, Quad Cities is going through some transition as well. They do not have their longtime all IFL quarterback and EJ Hilliard back. So we expect to see some new wrinkles and maybe some new concepts out of them. EJ was the type that he would stand in that pocket and really just try to, he would dance around. It remind me a lot of Ben Roethlisberger, able to dance around in the pocket, deliver strikes. When plays break down, he could just kind of create space for himself to get passes off. Very hard to break down. And then he also wasn't afraid to take off and use his big body. The new guys that they've brought in, they look like more athletic types. Some of them look like they might have some big arms. So I do expect to see a few new wrinkles. I think for us, it's just trying to figure out, who on our team has picked up the concepts defensively and offensively well enough to just go out and execute. I think if we just go out and execute what we do and then kind of be reactful, and I think that's where, having a veteran staff will come in for us. And, we can make some of the adjustments as we go along to whatever they throw at us because, with this being the first game for both teams, it's going to just be a lot of figuring it out as we go. Last year when we played Quad Cities in our first game, they had already played 2 ball games before us, so we had film that we could base some things off of. But this year is kind of going in blind, but that's, part of the game, and we just expect that we'll focus a lot more on us in the beginning, and then if we need to do some adjusting to what they're throwing at us, we'll make those adjustments as we go.
Very exciting stuff. Again, tomorrow is the start of the season. Friday at 7:05, the official kickoff time. SiouxFallsStorm.com. They'll match up with Quad City. After that, Coach, you've got a game out against Massachusetts next Friday at 6:05. The home opener for fans is going to be against the Tulsa Oilers Sunday, the 14th of April, 3:05 in the afternoon. You talked about a lot of newness, a lot of figuring some things out, but when it comes to goals and expectations, I know that the standard is the standard within the program. It's the Sioux Falls Storm, one of the best programs, if not the best program in the IFL year in and year out. What are some goals this year for your team as you get the career started as a head coach?
Yeah, you mentioned it. The standard is the standard. We're championship or bust. That's kind of how we've always been, and we're not going to change that. Our goal is to not only get back to Las Vegas in the IFL championship, but to win the game this year. So ultimately, nothing on that front will change. Now, how we get there, we'll see. But yeah, the goal is to get back to the championship and win it. Hopefully, we have the team that can start to build some chemistry and get some camaraderie amongst the group, and we're able to ride them out. But this is professional football, and so things can change as we go along. But we feel good about who we brought in and what we have, and it's just a matter now of getting them up to speed in the indoor game and getting them up to speed with our expectations. Some guys they may come from programs where that's not the case, where they may have a little wiggle room. But for us, if you make it to the second round of the playoffs or you make it to the championship game and lose, we look at that as not the greatest season. So for us, it's just hanging a banner or back to the drawing board.
And last season was one where you guys took your lumps early, but you made it back to that title game, ultimately losing the championship contest. 11-7, the overall record last year. Looking forward to another strong season for you, Coach. Best of luck. I'm sure we'll check in with you, players and coaches throughout. Best of luck this year. Year number 1 as head coach of the Storm. Thanks for the time today, Coach.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for having me. And, yeah, if you guys want to check it out live, you can also go down to the Alliance right across from the Sheridan. And Howard Woodfield, where they're having a free watch party tomorrow night at 7.
All right, looking forward to that tomorrow night at 7. Kickoff time, 7 o'clock. And again, it's the Alliance for that watch party. That is Sioux Falls Storm first-year head coach Andre Fields. We'll be checking in with him, USD alum throughout the season, and can't wait to see what's ahead this year and beyond for the Sioux Falls Storm and their new head coach. We take the break. When we come back, another update on the NCAA Tournament, which includes the first game just about ready to wind down. Less than 10 minutes to go between Michigan State and Mississippi State. We'll update you on all the scores you need to know and then deliver the good, the bad, and the ugly to send you packing on your Thursday.
You want more of Overtime? It's all on the podcast. Free with the app or online at ESPN Sioux Falls. Overtime with Bert Rameen on ESPN 102.3 and AM 1000 KSOO.
Right back with you. It is the Thursday edition of Overtime. Special thanks moments ago for Sioux Falls Storm head coach Andre Fields for joining us. Their season kicks off tomorrow, 7 o'clock out at Quad City. Another road game the week after, and then the following Sunday, the home opener. That is going to be April the 14th, home to Tulsa as they come to town to open up the home slate for the Sioux Falls Storm. More on them, SiouxFallsStorm.com. Latest tourney update here. You got Michigan State and their fans feeling pretty good. 8.5 minutes to go. They're up 14 against Mississippi State. That would be the first seed upset of the tournament. For those of you that are familiar with Michigan State, I would never bet against that team, regardless of seed in the tournament. The experienced Tom Izzo and everything that goes with Michigan State. I don't think they're a long-term contender this year, but the experience, the program, couldn't pick against them. 59-45, they lead with 8.5 minutes to go. Other score updates, Duquesne and BYU has reached halftime, and the Duquesne Dukes leading by 8, led by as many, I think it was double digits early in the first half. They lead at 38-30 at the break, and the newly minted game underway. Midway through the first half, Creighton and Akron, pretty close game. Blue Jays lead at 21-19, 11:20 to go in the first half. Let's now get you the goods, the bads, and the uglies as we round out this Thursday edition of Overtime.
Many days there are those who can be called a problem child.
You know the ones. They have a tendency to display an ugly side. They have their whiny moments. Some display an outright bad side of themselves. And then there are those who stand out in a good way. Well, here they are. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right, good news first, because we surely need it after the sports day we've had around here. Count Kentucky basketball coach John Calipari among the ever-growing group of outspoken critics against expanding the NCAA Tournament. Speaking Wednesday from Pittsburgh ahead of his third-seeded Wildcats' first-round matchup against 14-seed Oakland, Calipari urged officials to keep the tournament from ballooning past its current 68-team format. Sources told ESPN's Pete Thamel last week that there are ongoing discussions about expanding the men's tournament to one featuring no more than 80 teams. Calipari says, I hope it stays where it is. I know people get mad. They get mad at the committee. You won't believe this. I've been mad at that committee a few times, but you might be mad because of your seed or where they've shipped you to. But it doesn't matter who the committee is. We're all going to be upset. Calipari referred to the newly expanded format for the college football playoff and how more teams getting in will also mean more teams being angry over being left out. This is a business trip for me, Calipari said, and I'll say that's in this thing. I would say that the same thing. Keep it where it is. Don't mess with something that's great. Oakland's coach, who's in his 40th season with the Golden Grizzlies, echoed Calipari and spurning the possibility of a tournament with as many as 80 teams. This is the holy grail for mid-majors, right? It is. And I've said this many times over the last week. The NCAA basketball tournament, please don't change it. Please don't change it. But it is one of the 3 greatest sporting events in the world. People in the United States will say it's the greatest sporting event in the world. Obviously, other sports have priority and precedent elsewhere. But March Madness at 64 teams, that was probably, 10, 15, 20 years ago. 64 was perfect. I really don't care about, nor do I really see the value of the first 4. I certainly understand from the lead-in, the gambling perspective, people love to place their bets and see who gets into the tournament. But you hatch it all out over conference tournaments, the auto bids, everything in between. I don't understand the possibility, and I don't understand the first 4. I'm not going to gripe about it because 68 for me feels perfectly fine. If I had it my way, 64 is fine because ultimately the only thing people care about, the bracket itself, is 64 teams. It's not 68, it's 64. And it's perfect. Do not change March Madness. People will still tune in if you do. And if you try to get more money off it, I'm sure it'll work out. But it is perfect right now. The college football playoff was not perfect. March Madness is perfect. It does not need tinkering. It does not need changing as it currently stands. On to the bad. Police in Florida have been searching for Detroit Lions cornerback Cameron Sutton for about 2 weeks after an arrest warrant was issued over his alleged involvement in a domestic violence case. Sutton is facing a charge of domestic battery by strangulation, a third-degree felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. More on that at ESPN.com. And now on to the ugly. Former Arizona Cardinals front office executive Terry McDonough has been accused of choking a neighbor. And as of April, has an April 11th court date to answer simple assault charges. According to Mecklenburg County court documents, a neighbor reported that McDonough chest bumped him and then put his hands around his neck and tried to choke him while shouting obscenities and derogatory terms back in mid-March. A criminal affidavit filed by the alleged victim says McDonough was upset about some tractor equipment damaging his lawn. The man added that McDonough, quote, has a history of volatile behavior and was also publicized in national news related to a case he has with the Arizona Cardinals. More ugly details emerging in that, but a ton of bad news today in the sports world between Shohei Ohtani, his interpreter, and much, much more going on. Let's get to March Madness. Let's have some fun. Hopefully tomorrow a better sports day out there as far as news goes. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Have a great day. We'll do it tomorrow. More of Overtime, 11 to 1 tomorrow right here on ESPN Sioux Falls.